Hey guys, and welcome back to our Star Wars Resistance recap show, Viva la Resistance. I am this time your host, Kees Cornelissen, joined as usual by Chris Delman and Nico Rogoli, to review episode 14, The First Order Occupation, in which the First Order is finally on the platform and they're actually having a hand, having a say in things, looking after a pirate spy, who we know, of course, is Synara. And, chaos ensues, essentially.
Doesn't it always?
Yeah, that happened. Chris, how have you been? And your initial thoughts in this episode.
So, before I get into my usual shtick, I actually will just say this is, again, these episodes are just getting better and better. The jokes are funnier this time around. Honestly, I laughed hard during a couple moments in this episode.
Nico?
Yep. We'll get more into that in a moment. I love the tension. I loved that very Filoni-esque sort of structure to where you think a certain event's going to happen at this moment, then you realize, oh wait, there's still 7 minutes left in this episode. Something has to go wrong. Then it goes wrong, and then there's another solution to it, and that time it goes smoothly. But there's so much detail that went into this episode of precision, and it's wonderful. This episode is just wonderful. Aside from the fact that stop blowing holes in my ship!
I think we're okay, though. I think it has been made clear, if anything has been made clear in this episode, that Cass and Synara will not be a thing because the feeling is not mutual. But anyway, Nico, you're here too. You also watched the episode. What are your thoughts?
First off, note to anyone who does any reviews in the future, don't drink orange juice right before you start, because for some reason it doesn't go down right.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of this episode, very interesting. A lot of interesting stuff. For one, the more of Nico I see, the more of myself I see in him, and
well, your names are very similar.
Well, that, and we both have a mutual inability to keep our mouths shut when we probably should. So there's that. But also, Kaz, he's nervous his cover is going to be blown, when really it's Synara's cover who has essentially been blown. And him being the person that he is, he wants to see the good in people. So he's like, she may have lied to us for all this time, but I want to help Synara get to safety. Because while she did kind of help with Tora's kidnapping, she also helped with her recovery. So there is good in her that she deserves a second chance if she can be given one. So I like that further development of Kaz's character, and that being a spy hasn't changed him inside. He's still got that goodness in him that he wants to see in others.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, so far, what I saw in this episode is that Cass can be very forgiving, because in the last episode he found out about Synara's nature. He knew, and he actually told Synara in this episode. He faced her about it, and it just shows that while he knows, and while that might have been more of an issue at one point, he has seen who Synara really is. We know that she is not the pirate that she was in episode 6 when they recovered her. She has changed since. She's a nice person, and I thought that showed really well in this episode. And as I said, if there's one thing that this episode showed us, is that Kazara is not going to be an item in this show, which I am very happy about. Chris, I assume, is very happy about, because we have another ship going on. We want Kaz and Tora to be a thing, and not Kaz and Synara. Synara is a good character, and I do like the dynamic that she has with Kaz, and especially like that in this episode, to see like Cass facing her and talking about food, and she's like, "We're not talking about food, are we? No, we're not."
Oh, by the way, I really like that just because it shows how smart the characters on the show are for it being a kid show. Like they're not gonna beat around the bush. They're gonna be like, okay, you obviously mean something entirely different. Why don't you just come out and say it rather than give me these stupid metaphors? And I like that. I like that very much. They're treating the audience as intelligent, just like they're treating the characters as intelligent.
Exactly. And one of the other nice things that I found about that, especially about that particular moment, was it like Nico just said, to piggyback off that, and it's when you treat the characters with such intelligence and you treat the audience with such intelligence, we get more involved. We get more emotionally attached. The more you give us as audience members of respect, the more respect we'll give back, and the more that we want to see these characters continue to succeed. Because if they didn't, then I'd want them to get caught. But no, I wanted her to get away. I just didn't want Kaz to be all lovey-dovey about it.
Well, however,
I'm gonna grab my shades now for every time you bring that up.
All right,
look, whatever his actual feelings are towards Synara, I'm not sure. I honestly think that this was something I was thinking of. Like we now had a very heavy Cass and Synara episode where that was actually tested, and based off that, I honestly don't think that is going to be an item. And I think that considering the First Order is there and it's going to ramp up to more of these type of moments, that we're now going to have a Torah and Cass heavy episode where they're going to be tested, and hopefully they realize that they belong together, because Chris and I at least think so, which would be very nice. But like I lost my train of thought. I had a thing that Nico brought up, and Chris, further thoughts about Nico, perhaps?
I'm glad you brought that up, because oh my god, there were so many moments like, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I laughed hard. Like, I was almost holding my sides from some of his comedic moments. And as you can see, as we have it in our little setup here, right next to me is the shot of him when he, like, comes with the distraction. And there's this, like, fog and steam everywhere. And then he's just running, it's so ridiculous. And then, of course, when he walks into the hangar at the very end of the episode and just collapses pretty much right in Kaz's arms, I'm like... Oh my god! And hell, Kaz actually had a couple.
I think I'm gonna faint now.
I'm gonna pass out right now. Boom. And heck, Kaz actually had some really funny lines. BB-8 brought a lot of his usual humor to it, like when Kaz is trying to justify to BB-8 why he's trying to help Synara, and then BB-8 just you presumably says, because you like her? And he's like, as a friend! I like her as a friend! It's as much as I don't want that, it was still just a wonderful sense of camaraderie between these two. And again, we're coming back to that. When you treat the characters with respect and intelligence, I get more attached, which is, I
want to know what it takes to be able to understand droid speak in the way R2 and BB-8 speak. Like, because I know there are characters out there that they spend enough time with astromechs and whatever the technical term is for BB-8's type of
BB-8
droid.
is an astromech.
Okay, so I wonder what kind of training you have to go through to actually learn what an astromech is saying without the aid of a computer.
Ooh, it's a good question. Hey, I do think there are protocol droids like 3PO who could help with that. To be fair.
Sure, but I think if we ever get, an actor or someone heavily involved with Star Wars on this show or on Who Cares Anyway, I think that'd be a great question to ask them. or Alex Damon.
Please come on our show. Please come on our show.
Wow, desperate much.
I only have one speed. I'm trying hard to work on a second, but I only have one speed right now.
I'm aware of this. Yeah, and what I also love about this episode and just how the episodes have been going, the overall direction of the show, we are really ramping up towards that moment where the First Order is going to take complete control of the Colossus, and not just the spies are going to get sought out. Everyone is going to get sought out and captured, and we're going to get into some real bad things. I'm not sure when it'll exactly happen, but it's bound to happen. I also do wonder, when is Poe going to pick up BB-8? That is essentially the moment that we are looking for, because we know that needs to happen, considering the events of The Force Awakens, considering that is going to happen at one point. So that does mean that one episode soon, we need to have Poe come to the Colossus and pick up BB-8 and, swap BB-8 out for CB-23. So I wonder when that'll exactly happen. But this episode just furthers the presence of the First Order on the Colossus, and I cannot wait to see where this goes, how it goes. I just know that I love the direction that they're going with the show, and I think those were pretty much my final thoughts. So let's, Nico, what are your final thoughts for this episode?
So, as expected, First Order now has a very noticeable presence on the Colossus. They're jailing people for really no legit or explained reason. Like, they almost jailed a person for just not having their ID with them, and I don't know what they jailed that goat guy for. That wasn't explained, but he's going to have a rough night. So the more stormtroopers have a presence on the Colossus, we're going to see more loss of freedom. And we already see it with Captain Dosa. He's like, at what cost are we paying for the price of security? Like, that seems to be, even in real society, that's one of those big debates is, how much freedom are you willing to sacrifice for the sake of safety, for the sake of security? And we saw that here. My other final thought is, it took us this long to figure out that they had an underwater platform where there are escape pods. Why are we only finding out about this now? That is interesting to me.
I think because it only is needed in this thing. Look, it makes sense that they have an underwater platform, considering that the Colossus is on water. That at least a part of it would be submerged.
But no, he actually brings up a fair point, because in the Children of Tahar episode, they certainly could have just gone down there and avoid the First Order that way. Maybe.
Like, we don't even know how big the underwater section of the platform is. It just
they'll get into that.
But for now, it just looks like this one tiny tube with with maybe one escape pod attached to it, and that escape pod is now gone because Synara used it. So, like, we don't know how long that area is. We don't know if there are any other parts of that platform. So, like, there's been a new part of the Colossus uncovered to us, and now I'm very curious if we explore it further.
We shall see about that. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, just to go off that about the underwater section, like as much as, sure, I could ask myself the question of, well, why didn't they use that in previous episodes? But now I'm just thinking, is that where they're going to quote unquote build the resistance as, you know, the First Order begin to further occupy the Colossus, and, you know, all of our heroes are going to be forced kind of down there and sort of give it a very claustrophobic, deep blue sea kind of vibe. And it's funny to say that because we saw Bebo's mother again for all of 2 seconds. It was a fun little cameo. I
told you they were going to bring them back in some capacity.
You did say that. Well done. But yeah, no, again, from a story perspective, this episode is exactly what we needed. And it's exactly what I personally wanted. So I sound like a broken record after every episode, but guys, keep it up. Keep this up. This show is just getting better and better and better. And once again, great comedy. Oh, so perfect. So perfect.
Yes, indeed. And one last thing that I thought myself was the fact that Tam is actually not seeing the threat of the First Order. Yeah, that is an interesting little thing because, well, Cass knows, Yeager knows, Nico doesn't know anything really. So
but the strange thing is, I feel like he's starting to figure it out.
Well, he's mostly starting to figure it out because he was so heavily involved in this episode with what went on. But Tam is completely in the dark there, and that might be exactly the reason why she gets captured, because she has no idea what they are.
Let me touch on that. Because
please.
I remember when Synara was there was an instance where they were beating around the bush a little bit when Synara was trying to explain to Nico, First Order doesn't really like people like you
me.
die. Yeah, people like me. Nico kind of related to that from the Imperial times, and that's the Empire didn't have the best record when it came to how they treated non-humans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like maybe Tam doesn't have that perspective that Nico did.
Ooh.
No.
Okay.
No, that's definitely a good point.
That's a great point because, because when you stop to think about it, it doesn't matter if you're looking at Legends or canon. It's no secret the Empire was a bunch of racists.
They were.
I
mean, the fact that Thrawn got into the position that he got is a miracle, considering what the Empire thinks of aliens. So yeah.
Nico.
Well done. But anyway, with that said, I think we all thought this episode was great, and we love the direction where it's going. So I can't wait for more. With that said, guys, please like the video, comment on it, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And we're going to go into plugs. So, Chris, where can people find you online?
You guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, and Letterboxd at Skywalker Dome. And you guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. And please, guys, on my personal YouTube page, go check out my new single, Don't Give Up. I wrote it for people who are struggling with mental health, as I myself am one of those people. And it was a very personal song that I needed to get off my chest. So check it out if you like hard rock.
Indeed. And Nico, where can people find you?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli. Right here on Dedicated to Art over on the Combat Wrestling Network with Hunter the Hitman Chambliss. And over on Multiplex Entertainment. That's the name of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. The Twitter's at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. The TeePublic is just Multiplex. Buy our awesome shirts. My Thon donor drive is still going on until February 15th. So if you want to donate but have not donated yet, click the link in the description below. Chris, you can put the link in the description below. Would you please? Thank you very much. And we've already passed the $6,000 goal, but we still want to raise more because, hey, cancer sucks, so let's beat it.
That is very true. And for me, you can find me at Dutch Movie Guy on Twitter, Kees Cornelissen on Facebook. I'm also actually on Letterboxd. I forgot to plug that all this time. Simply also at Kees Cornelissen. And on Multiplex competing in matches that I probably shouldn't compete in. Anyway, guys, that was the episode. That was the review. So all that's left for me to say is Viva la Resistance.
And may the Force be with you, always.
Screw you, Tom Brady!